They mocked the quiet medic. A Navy destroyer arrived, flying her personal command flag. "You're in the wrong place, sweetheart." Commander Dale Harwick's voice carries across the entire hangar deck like a gavel strike. He doesn't lower it. He raises it. 41 sailors and maintenance crew go quiet without being told. This bay is for fleet combat personnel, not for field nurses playing dress-up. The words cut through USS Resolute's hangar bay, like a blade scraping the underside of a hull. The AC system hums overhead, a low industrial drone that never quite reaches the heat rising off aircraft engines. The smell in here is JP-8 fuel and hydraulic fluid and something older underneath. Steel that has been at sea for 22 years. 41 people stand or sit within earshot. Maintenance crews paused mid-task, wrenches still in hand. 6 E6 aviation technicians near the starboard bulkhead. 2 flight deck supervisors with clipboards. Senior Chief Petty Officer Marcus Webb, 61 years old, standing at the rear of the bay, near the parts manifest station, with a coffee mug halfway to his mouth. He does not drink it. Commander Harwick stands with his arms crossed like he owns not just this destroyer, but the entire 7th Fleet it belongs to. His service dress uniform carries 4 rows of ribbons. His rank insignia glints under the bay's fluorescent panels. He is 6'2", and he uses every centimeter of it, stepping toward the workstation in the port corner with the deliberate pace of a man who has never once been told no. She does not look up. She is 31 years old, 5'5" in regulation boots. Her dark hair is pulled into a regulation bun so precise it looks architectural. She wears Navy working uniform, the standard issue blue digital camouflage with no name tape, no warfare pin, no rating badge, no rank insignia anywhere on it. Nothing above an E nothing, a nobody. She is reassembling a combat application tourniquet with the particular mechanical precision of someone who has done this in the dark, underwater, with one hand. She sets the last component into alignment without looking at it. Her hands are very still. She breathes. 4 counts in, hold 4, 4 counts out, hold 4. Then she sets the tourniquet down and looks up at Commander Harwick. "Higher than yours, sir?" Her voice is quiet, not whispering, not soft. Quiet the way a loaded weapon is quiet. You just don't know it yet. She picks up the next piece of equipment and goes back to work. Something happens on Commander Harwick's face. His jaw tightens. It is barely perceptible, a twitch, nothing more. And then the theatrical performance reasserts itself. The comfortable mask of a man who has built his career on an audience. At the parts manifest station, Senior Chief Webb's pen stops moving. He has been at sea for 37 years. He has met every kind of soldier and sailor and operative that the United States Navy produces. He has learned, across those 37 years, to recognize the ones who are exactly what they appear to be, and the ones who are something else entirely. His eyes narrow. He watches her return to her work. The grip on those instruments, the way her wrists angle, the perfect economy of motion, not trained, not practiced, conditioned, the way things get conditioned when the training grounds are actual combat zones. His coffee goes cold. He does not notice. By 0900, Commander Harwick has told the story 4 times. The version that circulates through the mess hall by 1000 has grown in the telling. She apparently told him to get out of his own hangar bay, apparently laughed in his face, apparently used language that would make an instructor blush. The truth is a quiet 8-word sentence that he cannot explain or defuse. So the mythology builds itself to compensate. By 1100, she is eating alone at the end of a mess table with a tray of institutional food that tastes like procedural efficiency. Eggs, toast, something that was once orange juice. She eats without hurry, She listens without appearing to listen. She is filing things. Who defers to whom? The micro-hesitation when a petty officer addresses a senior chief versus an officer. Who looks toward the door when a certain name comes up. Where real authority flows beneath the visible hierarchy. She has been doing this for 4 days. The picture is almost complete. There is a disassembled M110 semi-automatic sniper rifle in her berthing locker that nobody has thought to inspect because her manifest lists her as an attached Fleet Medical Service representative, FMSR. A classification that triggers a specific kind of institutional boredom in anyone who reads it. Nobody reads it twice. At 11:15, Lieutenant Ferris from Intelligence, young, 26, wearing the expression of someone who has been assigned to do something he finds slightly embarrassing, approaches her table with a tablet. "Ma'am, Commander Harwick has requested a credentials verification on your assignment orders." He sets the tablet face up on the table. Standard procedure for attached personnel. "Of course." She sets down her fork, pulls a small credentials card from her breast pocket, sets it on the tablet, returns to her food. "I'll wait." Ferris picks up the card, looks at it, looks at her, goes back to the card. Something about the alphanumeric sequence in the authorization. Field is unlike anything in his database. He types it in anyway. Waits. The system processes. Responds with a field he has never seen. Verification requires clearance above current user level. He stares at that response for a full 8 seconds. He picks up the card. Stops. "I should keep this." "You'll return it." Not a request. He goes. Senior Chief Webb is at the coffee station when Ferris passes. He watches the young lieutenant's face. That expression. He's seen it before. 6 times, maybe 7, over 37 years. Always on someone who just looked at a document they didn't have the clearance to understand. Always on someone who just stumbled into something larger than their assignment. He looks back across the mess. She's finishing her eggs. She knows exactly what she looked like when she handed that card over, and she did it anyway. He turns back to his coffee. Something tightens in his chest. Not alarm. Recognition. At 1300, she is in the medical bay. The medical bay on a Fletcher-class destroyer is not a large space. 8 feet wide, 12 feet deep. A treatment table, a supply cabinet, a workstation with a monitor showing ship's vitals. The previous FMSR left it in institutional order, everything correctly stowed, correctly labeled, correct per the manual. She has been here 40 minutes. Everything is still correctly stowed and correctly labeled. It is also reorganized for actual operational efficiency rather than inspection compliance, in a way that would only occur to someone who has used a space like this under the specific time pressure of a real medical emergency. Lieutenant Commander Ariola from Ship's Medical pokes her head in at 13:05. Ariola is 43, 15 years in. Thorough in the way that professionals who work around real emergencies get thorough. She looks at the reorganized supply cabinet. She looks at the tray on the treatment table where a set of field surgical instruments has been laid out in the configuration used by combat trauma surgeons, not fleet medical technicians. "You trained at Bethesda?" she asks. A pause. "I've worked out of field environments mostly." Ariola's eyes stay on the instruments. The configuration is specific. It's the kind of thing you get from working with special operations medical sergeants, not from any fleet medical course. "Right," Ariola says. Her voice is careful. Careful the way people get when they don't want to ask the question they're actually asking. "Well, let me know if you need anything." She leaves. Her pace going back down the corridor is slightly faster than it was coming in. From his position at the intersection of Main Corridor and the Medical Bay Passage, Senior Chief Webb watches Ariola come out. He sees the expression. He has been standing here, off and on, for 40 minutes. At the 20-minute mark, he watched her log into the ship's medical subsystem using a command-level authentication code that she input in under 9 seconds. He has watched duty medical officers take 5 minutes with that same code. She did it without looking at the keypad. He adds it to the picture. The picture is getting very clear. At 13:30, the ship's fire control technician, Petty Officer Second Class Riggs, 25 years old, the kind of young who hasn't yet learned that expertise has a signature smell, comes to the medical bay with a laceration on his right forearm. Routine. He sits on the treatment table and watches her prepare the closure kit, and he is going to say something because he is 25 and she is a woman in an unmarked uniform. And Commander Harwick has made a joke that is still circulating, and Riggs still thinks that matters. He opens his mouth. Her hands move on the closure kit with the specific traction and angle of someone who has closed wounds in conditions that would make Riggs's imagination struggle. The tray is already arranged exactly right. The light is already angled exactly right. She has assessed the laceration, depth, direction, contamination level, with one glance that took less than 2 seconds. Riggs closes his mouth. She closes the wound in 4 minutes and 20 seconds. The technique is not standard fleet medical. It is the technique taught in a specific advanced trauma curriculum that is not listed in any standard Navy training catalog, and that produces a closure tight enough to hold under physical exertion in a combat environment. It will leave a minimal scar. Riggs looks at his arm when she's done, then looks at her, then looks at his arm again. He leaves without the joke. Senior Chief Webb, at the corridor intersection, watches Riggs walk away. Something about that expression, the slight bewilderment of a young man who came in with a posture and left without it. He looks back at the medical bay doorway. He controls his own breathing. 4 counts. Not tactical. Just the rhythm of a man who has been at sea long enough for the sea to have given him patience. He goes to find a secure communication terminal. Not yet. But soon. By 1400, the informal mockery has escalated to formal procedure. Commander Harwick has called it a security audit. He stands in the corridor outside the medical bay with Chief Master-at-Arms Dolan and 2 security petty officers. And he has the kind of voice he only uses when he wants an audience. He has one. 14 personnel in earshot, including 3 officers who should probably say something and don't. She's been accessing system nodes she has no authorization for, Harwick says. He sounds pleased about this. Pleased the way a man sounds when the mechanism he's built is finally grinding. No rate, no warfare device, no unit designation that checks out on NMCI. Mystery medic. I want her credentials pulled, I want her temporary access badge revoked, and I want her in front of me for a formal inquiry. She stands in the doorway of the medical bay, with her hands in her pockets. No badge. He already pulled it. What systems did you access? Harwick asks her. He turns to face her. Performance mode. Crowd watching. The ones I was authorized for. 4 words. And what authorization is that exactly? The kind you don't have clearance to see. Harwick smiles. It doesn't reach his eyes. Take her to compartment B4 while we sort this out. She controls her breathing. 4 in, hold 4, 4 out, hold 4. Her hands stay in her pockets. The 2 security petty officers fall in beside her, and she walks with them down the corridor without drama, without argument, without turning to look at Harwick. She does not glance back. Senior Chief Webb watches from the far end of the corridor. He has been standing there for 3 minutes. long enough. He saw what happened in the medical bay an hour ago, the way she moved when the ship shuddered through a swell, automatic weight shift, the balance adjustment of someone accustomed to moving on vessels under load. He noticed her sleeve. When she reached overhead to adjust a cabinet catch, the left cuff rode up 2 centimeters. On the inside of her left wrist, half hidden now as she passes. A tattoo. Not decorative. The lines are too specific for decoration. A trident overlaid with a compass bearing and 3 letters in a particular typeface that Webb has only ever seen in 2 places: classified personnel files and the skin of operators who earned the designation that created them. His hand drifts to the small notepad in his breast pocket. He has a name. He has had a name since yesterday. He needed to be certain. He puts the notepad away. He is certain. He does not go to find Commander Harwick. He goes to find a secure communication terminal. Compartment B4 is a storage-converted holding space aft of the engineering spaces. The dimensions are 11 feet by 8. Concrete, repainted gray over gray over gray. A metal bench, a porthole near the overhead that shows a small rectangle of South China Sea sky, pale and flat. The ventilation moves barely enough air to be classified as airflow. Underneath the institutional smell of cleaning compound, there is something older. Salt, rust, the accumulated weight of years of pressurized metal. She sits on the bench. She is not afraid. This is the near-fail moment. Anyone watching from outside the situation would call it over. Credentials pulled, access revoked, confined to a holding space on a Navy destroyer in the middle of an international patrol. Caught. Finished. Except that is only true if you define the situation by its visible dimensions. She stopped defining situations by their visible dimensions approximately 9 years ago. She checks her watch, the one no one thought to confiscate, the one that looks like a regulation timepiece and is something considerably more than that. Her watch reads 14:47. In 13 minutes, a check-in signal she was required to transmit at 1400 will register as absent at a monitoring terminal that is not aboard this vessel. In 49 minutes, an automated protocol she initialized 36 days ago, before she boarded this ship under this cover identity, will trigger a status request to a Tier 1 response coordinator. In approximately 2 hours and 11 minutes, Commander Dale Harwick is going to understand the difference between apparent authority and the kind of authority that doesn't come with a rank insignia, because it transcends the concept entirely. She breathes. 4 in, hold 4, 4 out, hold 4. Then she leans back against the steel bulkhead and waits. The first crack appears at 15:12. Senior Chief Webb knocks on the door of Commander Harwick's at-sea cabin. He waits. The door opens. Chief Webb, I'm in the middle of... I need 2 minutes, Commander. Webb steps inside without being invited. He stands the way career men stand, easy in his body, nothing aggressive in it, just entirely immovable. The woman you've got in B4. She'll be processed through. I'd be very careful about this one. He says it simply, not as a warning exactly, more as information. That's all I wanted to say. Harwick looks at him. Harwick has known Webb for 11 months. He has never once seen Webb come to his cabin uninvited. Something moves across Harwick's expression. It is not quite uncertainty, but it is adjacent to it. She's a fleet medical. She's not. Webb says it flatly. I've been at sea 37 years. That woman is not a Fleet Medical Service representative. A pause. I just wanted to make sure you had that information. He leaves. Harwick stands in the doorway, looking at the empty corridor. He goes back to his desk. He does not pick up the phone. He should. but calling off a formal security inquiry he initiated publicly. In front of 14 witnesses, feels like the kind of retreat that ends careers. He tells himself that Webb is an old man who reads patterns in noise. He tells himself he has been in the Navy for 19 years and he knows a record's inconsistency when he sees one. He does not pick up the phone. At 15:31, the ship's communications officer knocks on his door. "Commander, I have an incoming from Fleet Command." Her face is arranged in the careful, neutral expression of someone who has just received information significantly above her pay grade. "Priority routing. I'm supposed to let you know we have an ETA." "An ETA for what?" "USS Meridian, sir." A pause. "Destroyer." Harwick goes still. "She's running ahead of transit schedule. They're saying 40 minutes. Another pause. "She's flying a personal command flag, sir." A personal command flag, not a ship's ensign, not a unit pennant. A personal command flag means there is a senior officer aboard whose individual authority supersedes the jurisdiction of any vessel or base they approach. Harwick has seen a personal command flag twice in 19 years. Both times, the officer flying it had a rank that made admirals straighten up. "Who?" His voice comes out slightly wrong. He adjusts it. "Who's commanding?" The communications officer checks her tablet. She reads the name. She says it aloud. Harwick sits down. At 16:03, USS Meridian comes alongside. She is a destroyer-class vessel, lean and gray, and she moves through the South China Sea with the specific purposefulness of a vessel that is not on a social call. Her engines carry that particular acoustic signature of a ship running at accelerated pace, arrived ahead of where she was supposed to be. Standing on the weather deck of USS Resolute, the crew watches her come in, and the crew of USS Resolute is quiet in a way that ships companies get quiet when something is happening that they don't entirely understand. The personal command flag is visible from 300 meters. 3 stars on a field of midnight blue. She has been let out of compartment B4. Someone came to get her 20 minutes ago, quietly, without explanation. A Master Chief Petty Officer who said only, "You're needed on deck, ma'am," and then walked her there without another word. She stands on the weather deck in the same unmarked working uniform she has been wearing for 4 days. No change of clothes, no ceremony. She watches the Meridian come alongside with her hands clasped behind her back. 41 people from the original hangar bay are now on the weather deck. Others have joined them. The total is 67. Commander Harwick is on deck. His ribbons are straight. His cover is on. He has the particular stillness of a man who is waiting to learn exactly how bad something is. Senior Chief Webb stands at the far edge of the assembled personnel. He watches her. Her posture under this, the ship approaching, the crew assembling, the moment building around her like weather, is exactly regulation. Not approximately. Exactly, the way it gets when the drilling is done, and what remains is the person underneath the drilling. He has seen that posture before, in photographs. In personnel files he had no business accessed anyway, across 37 years, because the names attached to those files were the names you learned whether anyone told you to or not. Her sleeve shifts in the wind off the water. The tattoo on the inside of her left wrist is visible. Next to Webb, a senior flight deck supervisor named Kowalski, 22 years in, former Naval Special Warfare Support, goes absolutely rigid. His hand moves without volition. Beginning a motion, he stops before it becomes visible. His face cycles through surprise and recognition, and something that, in a younger man, might be called awe. And in a man of Kowalski's experience is simply called knowledge arriving. He says nothing. He turns carefully forward, facing the incoming destroyer. The accommodation ladder goes down. 4 figures cross from Meridian, 2 in service dress blues, 1 in utility uniform bearing the insignia of JAG. One whose uniform Harwick cannot immediately categorize because the rank and classification insignia are above what he sees in everyday service. They come aboard with the particular economy of motion that marks people who have no time to spare. Behind them, unseen for a moment by the assembled crew, 2 additional personnel, civilian suits, identification credentials on lanyards, the specific posture of federal agents who have learned not to announce themselves with anything louder than their presence. The senior of the 4 Navy personnel is a vice admiral named Chen. She is 64 years old and has the demeanor of a woman who has long since stopped caring what rooms think of her when she enters them. She has commanded 2 carrier strike groups. There are 3 theaters of operation where her strategic decisions are studied in War College curriculum. She steps onto the deck of USS Resolute, and she does not look at Commander Harwick or at any of the assembled crew. She looks toward the weather deck's port side, where the woman in the unmarked uniform is standing. Something happens on Vice Admiral Chen's face. Not surprise, not quite relief. More like a person exhaling after a long time of not fully breathing. She raises her hand in salute. The room detonates. Gasps, actual audible gasps, from multiple personnel simultaneously. Someone at the rear of the assembled crew drops a tablet computer. The clatter echoes across the steel deck like a gunshot. The wind off the water suddenly seems louder. The engine sound of the departing Meridian Auxiliary seems deafening. Every small ambient noise rushes in to fill the space where 67 people have collectively run out of breath. The JAG officer steps forward. He opens a personnel file on a tablet and reads from it at a volume calibrated to carry across the assembled crew. Her rank is not what anyone on this vessel believed it to be. Her classification level is not visible in any standard Navy personnel system. Her assignment is not Fleet Medical. It has never been Fleet Medical. Her name, her operational name, the designation she carries in the files that matter, is one that Senior Chief Webb has seen before in 37 years of classified morning briefs. One that Kowalski has heard spoken in the particular reverent half-whisper that naval special warfare people use for the names that belong to a different echelon entirely. Call sign, Meridian, the same name as the destroyer flying her personal command flag. They named the ship after her. The JAG officer reads the rest of it. The mission record. Not all of it, a summary, sanitized for the clearance level of everyone present, which is still enough to make 3 senior officers on the weather deck go rigid. 14 confirmed high-value interdictions. A classified operation in 2019 that prevented a biological materials transfer and was never publicly attributed. A network she built over 6 years of deep cover work inside a criminal intelligence operation that had been running inside the 7th Fleet for 4 years. The criminal intelligence operation being run inside the 7th Fleet by a commander whose access gave him perfect cover for intelligence exfiltration. Commander Dale Harwick has been standing very still for 45 seconds. His face has moved through surprise and denial, and something that, in the civilian world, would be called shock, and in the Navy is called realizing the floor has dropped out from under everything you thought you were standing on. Vice Admiral Chen's salute has held through all of it. The senior petty officer to her left raises his hand. Slow, deliberate, the hand moving from his side to his brow, with the weight of a man who has earned the right to mean what this gesture means. Then the officer beside him, left hand first, correcting, then right, snapping into position the way it gets when the instinct overrides the hesitation. Then the 2 JAG personnel. Then Kowalski, his hand coming up with the particular precision of a man, rendering respect. He means in the marrow of his bones. not performance, not reflex. The kind of salute you see maybe 3 times in a career, if you're lucky. When someone has earned something so absolutely that the gesture becomes a different thing entirely. The salute moves through the assembled crew the way a wave moves through water. Not uniformly but inevitably, person by person, rank by rank, until 65 of the 67 people on the weather deck of USS Resolute have their right hands raised. The 66th is Commander Harwick. His hand comes up. It is shaking. He holds it. He has to hold it. Every protocol he has ever known requires it, and the protocols are all that is left of him right now. She returns the salute. Precise. Measured. She holds it for exactly the correct duration and then drops her hand to her side. Commander Harwick. Vice Admiral Chen's voice is very quiet. The kind of quiet that makes everyone lean in. You are relieved of command pending inquiry. Chief Master-at-Arms Dolan will escort you to your cabin. She pauses, not for effect, because there is nothing more to say. The inquiry will cover intelligence exfiltration, unauthorized personnel access, and 4 other counts that JAG will present to you privately. Harwick does not say anything. There is nothing theatrical left in him. The arrests happen without drama. Quietly. 2 additional personnel, the communications officer who had been modifying outbound traffic logs, a petty officer who had been photographing system layouts, are collected from their stations by security personnel who move through the ship with a specific economy of people who know exactly where they are going. No announcement over ship's announcing system. No visible commotion. She's already walking away from the weather deck when the last of it is done. Moving forward, toward the bow, where the wind comes clean off the water. Senior Chief Webb falls in step beside her, not speaking, just walking. After a long moment, she looks at him. 37 years, she says. 37 years, he confirms. A pause. The bowspray hits the deck ahead of them, and the South China Sea glitters flat and enormous in the afternoon light. You knew? She says. Not a question. 3rd day. He glances at her wrist. Grip on the equipment, then the tattoo. He pauses. Then I ran a search I'm probably not authorized for. She almost smiles. Nobody's authorized for it. I know. He looks out at the water. I thought you should know that not everyone in that hangar bay was laughing. She's quiet for a moment. The wind pulls at her uniform. The personal command flag of USS Meridian is visible above the waterline, still flying. I know, she says. I was watching. At 1847, she stands at the port side rail of USS Resolute. With the South China Sea darkening around her, the sky moving through orange and copper and deep violet above the horizon. Her watch reads 1847 in military time. The ship is running on reduced crew pending reassignment of command. And the deck around her is quiet in the particular way of a vessel that has just finished something significant and hasn't yet begun the next thing. The wind off the water smells like distance. Salt and diesel and the specific emptiness of open ocean that the land-bound never quite understand, the absence of edges. She has spent more of her adult life over water like this than over soil. On a destroyer, a carrier, a rigid hull inflatable in the dark, 3 kilometers off a coast, where she had no business being and was there anyway. The ocean makes the same sound, whether you are on a sanctioned mission or a classified one. It doesn't care about clearance levels. She thinks about the 41 people who were in the hangar bay 4 days ago when this started. Most of them were just there, not laughing exactly, not stopping it either. The ones who laughed, she has already cataloged and set aside. That's not the interesting data. The interesting data is the ones who went still. The ones who didn't join in, but didn't step forward either. The uncomfortable middle ground of ordinary people who know something is wrong and cannot yet afford to say so. Those are the ones she thinks about on evenings like this. Those are the ones she did this for, in some sense that doesn't appear in any mission brief. Senior Chief Webb comes to stand beside her. They mocked her rank. They forgot that she outranked their entire operation. There is a name she has not yet found. Her network inside the 7th Fleet is mapped. Its architects are being processed through JAG. The exfiltration chain is severed. The mission she came here to complete is complete. But there is a name, the recipient of the intelligence, not aboard this vessel, not in the fleet systems she has accessed. A surveillance image from a rooftop in Manila, taken 17 months ago, showing a figure in civilian clothes at a meeting that shouldn't have taken place. The image quality is what it is. The figure is male. The figure is military in his posture, in the way that never fully leaves you. She has run the biometric data 3 times on 3 different systems. It comes back inconclusive each time. Someone gave the order that got those 17 operators killed in 2018. She has found everyone except the person who placed the call. He is still out there. She can feel it the way sailors feel weather, ahead of the data, in the body first. Silence isn't failure, it's patience. The sky finishes its work. Purple deepens to navy. The first stars appear. Tomorrow brings new ghosts to hunt. Every soldier carries a story that few ever hear. Listen with your heart. Thank you for staying and watching. Subscribe to MVP Stories for more.